Okay guys, I've got to admit, I've been sleeping on this series. I can't lie, I've never been that interested in Nagi. I'm the hard work beats talent type of guy, but reading through this series has definitely been interesting. And now we finally reached the part of the story where Isagi is taken, and getting to see the character interactions from a different perspective is highly refreshing. And this latest chapter introduced what might be my favorite background character in the series. Hey, what's good everyone? I'm Raito 6 and this is episode of Nagi chapter 20. Continuing on from the previous chapter, Nagi's team comprised of Nagi, CHIGIRI and Barou accept Nico, Zantetsu and Hiiragi's challenge after being provoked by some tarot card readings. Chapter 19 is where we're introduced to Hiiragi, this slender framed and ponytail having effeminate boy with what seems to be beauty marks underneath each eye. For sure one of the dopest character designs for me personally, and as we see later on in the chapter, he certainly has the skills to justify the design. The chapter starts with Nagi taking kickoff and CHIGIRI charging directly for Zantetsu. Obviously he knows he's got his number and so tries to take advantage of that, but with Nico being the tactician that he is, he's already set up some countermeasures in the form of a double press, immediately nullifying CHIGIRI's charge and stealing the ball away from him. Hiiragi then picks up the loose ball and goes on to explain that the foundation of fortune telling is statistics. He's just like me, you know. This means that by analyzing personalities, thoughts and movement pattern data, he's able to use probabilities to predict the future. And he calls it big data soccer, with the formula soccer x human statistics. To me this sounds somewhat related to protagonism in a way, where protagonism uses players' sense of being the hero to predict their actions. Hiiragi's playstyle uses their personalities and thoughts, which you could say is more or less the same thing. And that's why later on in the chapter Nagi actually likens him to Isagi. But whilst he's explaining all this, he exchanges passes with Nico and Zantetsu, and at one point even nutmegs Nagi whilst predicting him to open his legs out loud. But trust me, this isn't even the height of his savagery. Hiiragi ends up scoring the first goal in the match, and just look at the arc on that shot. Sensational. After the opening goal, Barou being Barou decides to take things into his own hands and unleashes his thunder chops on Zantetsu. Yeah, we know this was never gonna work. Nico had already taken this into account and instructed Zantetsu not to press Barou, but to simply block his path, a little bit similar to what Kunigami did previously. And even though CHIGIRI comes over offering support, we know Barou's pride could never allow him to pass it to him, leaving himself open for the steal. Moving up the pitch, Hiiragi finally reveals his weapon, controlling the ball mid-run and then flicking it over Nagi's head. We see that not only is Hiiragi smart like Isagi, he also has amazing trapping ability just like Nagi, which is actually insanely overpowered. Anyways, this guy goes on to literally dunk on Nagi's head top, disrespectfully may I add, and scores one of the coolest goals I've ever seen on panel. Nasty work. Yo, before we carry on, if you're enjoying what you see so far, I beg you hit that like button, and I know you see that subscribe account. It's looking kind of bare right now. Help your brother out and let's begin this journey together. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Following this goal, CHIGIRI calls a team in, basically telling them that they need to stop focusing on their strengths because the other team has their number, and that they need to start working on their weak points. All this in a long convoluted explanation, which if I'm being completely honest, I was also just as lost as Nagi and Barou were, but I actually look forward to seeing how this develops. In the restart, CHIGIRI, being conscious of Nico, knows that he can't use his speed, but has yet to create a clear image in his head of how he can develop his weakness, and so decides for now to pass it to Barou. But the meathead refuses to let anyone else think for him, and so once again he charges in, and in predictable fashion is dispossessed, with Nico pointing out that his greatest weakness is his personality and so is unfixable, and this seems to have triggered a thought in CHIGIRI. Receiving the ball from Nico, Hiiragi explains that Nagi's weakness is that he's a prodigy, which causes him to be ignorant. And then on a casual, he busts out this move. Remember this trap from the U20 match? Yeah, turns out Nagi's inspiration was actually Hiiragi. Complete madness. Pulling the ball in behind him, then spinning mid-air, Hiiragi rasses that ball in, arcing it past the Blue Lock man for his hat-trick. Which begs the question, how the hell did Zantetsu end up on Nagi's team and not him? And why have we not seen Hiiragi in the NEL? Surely in a failing team like Munchen, this guy can do something, especially with Nagi faltering the way he is. I know he's already picked up his first salary, but I really hope we see more of him in the main story going forward. Cause me, I'm investing in Hiiragi stocks for sure. It seems that Nico's team has already decided they want Nagi on their team, which makes sense, but the final panel shows CHIGIRI and Barou getting fired up as they're determined not to lose Nagi, and Barou seems to be ready to overcome his weaknesses. I think that CHIGIRI is going to be the next one to score, and in the end Nagi is going to be the one to win it for them. Maybe by copying a trap from Hiiragi, but regardless, they have to somehow trash on Nico's team, or Hiiragi needs to be shown to be a nasty piece of work, because at the moment, I don't see a world in which Zantetsu is a better pick than Hiiragi. Anyways, this was such an awesome chapter, and it's so sick to finally see some of the side characters get more fleshed out, and I'm looking forward to the continuation of this match. With that said, I can't wait to see you all on the next review, but for now, take care, God bless.